Good day, CSPCeans. I am Monay, an artist educator, cultural worker, and youth leader. I am given the honor to talk to you about being a smart voter. Thus, I will be sharing with you your Gen Z guide in choosing your leader, including how to spot and stop misinformation on social media, standards in supporting a candidate, and identifying their platforms for the masses. To start, I'm going to ask you to get two pieces of paper. I encourage you to really use an actual physical paper as well as a pencil or a pen. Please get two pieces of paper. Don't worry, this is not a quiz. This is a ritual for us to start our learning session for today. Again, please get two pieces of paper and a pen, and I am giving you a few seconds to get these things if ever they are not within your reach. I hope meron na kayong nakuha. To truly immerse yourself in this activity, you must be open, honest, and willing. That's the only way for this to be effective. Now, close your eyes first and think of this question. Ano ang mga dahilan ng sakit, galit, lungkot, at pag-aalala mo sa panahong ito? Again, the question is, ano ang mga dahilan ng sakit, galit, lungkot, at pag-aalala mo sa panahong ito? Now, you may open your eyes and start writing these down on your paper. Now, hold your paper up and read what you wrote. At this point, tear it apart. Punitin nyo yung papel. Tear it into as many pieces as you can. Then, set it aside. Shake your body. Start with your hands and then rotate your head, your shoulders. And then, inhale. Exhale. Get the second piece of paper. Close your eyes again and think of this question. Ano ang mga gusto kong mangyari at magkaroon simula ngayong taon? The second question is, ano ang mga gusto kong mangyari at magkaroon simula ngayong taon? Open your eyes and start writing these down on your paper. I hope you're now done. Now hold your paper up again and then read what you wrote this time. If you're done, gently fold it into two and set it aside. Okay? I hope you participated in the ritual. That's it. And it will make sense as I go along with the talk. Who among you here has Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter? Even if I can't see or know by now, it's okay. What's important is you acknowledge it. Do you also use TikTok and YouTube? Personally, I do. There are firms that conduct studies and surveys about insights on global social media usage and digital trends for the past year, and two of them are advertising firms, namely We Are Social and Hootsuite. In the annual report that they've released last January 27, 2021, the Philippines is number one globally for time spent using social media. And take note that this is the 6th consecutive year. According to it, Filipinos spend an average of 4 hours and 15 minutes each day on social media, which is obviously higher than the global average of 2 hours and 25 minutes. In this same report, Japan was the last in ranking with an average of only 51 minutes. In terms of internet usage, Philippines is also number one with an average of 10 hours and 56 minutes, which is almost 11 hours per day as compared to the 6 hours and 54 minutes global average. These findings can be attributed to the spike of e-commerce, reaching 80.2% of internet users who are between 16 to 64 years old, which again is above the global average of 76.8%. Now, if we are to compare the internet usage in 2019, it was lower with 70% as compared to the 75% global average that year. And of course, the pandemic has something to do with these results. We are all aware that we are in the digital era where almost every transaction and commodity are found and done online. Banking, shopping, communication. It offers us with a lot of conveniences such as easy access to information, doing tasks from the comforts of our home, and real-time updates from the different parts of the world. When the COVID-19 pandemic started in 2020, even education shifted online, which we know by now is not as inclusive and simple to majority of learners, educators, administrators, and stakeholders as we hoped it to be. Being in this age of technological advancement and abundance makes information a basic and leading commodity, and this paved the way to worsening the already wide gap of social divide. Because obviously there is digital divide. Those who have available means are the ones who can access and acquire information, while those who lack resources also lack results. In short, certain conveniences also have certain disadvantages, and these include misinformation and disinformation in this time of social media. Let's be clear. Misinformation is defined as the sharing of inaccurate and misleading information in an unintentional way, while disinformation is the deliberate dissemination of false or inaccurate information in order to discredit a person or organization. These definitions are based from the glossary, the language of news literacy from the Stony Brook University's Digital Resource Center. Kapag hindi mo sinasadyang may false information kang naibahagi, that is misinformation. Hindi ka conscious doon sa mistake. Pero kung lantaran kang nagbabahagi ng maling impormasyon at ng paninira laban sa kung sino man o tungkol sa kung ano man, that is disinformation. You are aware and you are committing to it. Now, let me ask you, Do you want to be an enabler of any of those two? Hopefully not. Definitely not. Because as students and scholars, you have the right and at the same time the responsibility to be discerning of what you consume and share. There are a lot of pages, websites, and open sources that proliferate misleading and untruthful information. So, as netizens or as users of the net, we must be cautious and conscious always. Miss Melissa Zimdars, who is an assistant professor of communications and media at Merrimack College in Massachusetts, USA, categorized open sources into the following. We have fake news, which means that the information is fabricated, its content is deceptive, or actual news reports are distorted. Another one is satire, which uses humor, irony, exaggeration, ridicule, and false information in commenting on current events. There is extreme bias, which relies on propaganda and comes from a particular point of view, wherein the information is decontextualized and opinions are distorted as facts. Conspiracy promotes offbeat or crazy theories. Rumor mill dwells on humors, of course, gossips, innuendos, and unverified claims. State news, we have those in repressive states operating under government sanction. Junk science, there are also a lot. These promote pseudoscience, metaphysics, naturalistic fallacies, and other scientifically doubtful claims. Hate news are those which actively promote racism, misogyny, homophobia, bullying, and other forms of discrimination. Clickbait provide generally credible content, but they use exaggerated, misleading, or questionable headlines or social media description or images, and may also use sensational language to generate interest, click-throughs, and shares, but their content can typically be verifiable. Those which we must proceed with caution. The content may be reliable, but they require further verification, or we have to read in conjunction with other sources aside from it. Political, of course, it provides generally verifiable information in support of certain points of view or political orientation. And then there are credible open sources, those which circulate news and information in a manner consistent with traditional and ethical practices in journalism, considering multiple sources of information. And lastly, unknown, those which are not yet analyzed. What we will do at this point is you will identify at least 5 websites, pages, or accounts that you follow and get information from. Halimbawa, kapag meron kayong gusto o kailangang malaman sa lessons and assignments nyo, saan kayo nagbabasa? O kaya naman kapag gusto nyong maging updated sa mga nangyayari, saan kayo kumukuha ng updates? Yang mga yan. And please be specific. Write down yung mismong pangalan ng page, website, o account. You can take a mental note of your list, or if you want, you can type it on your phone or write it down on a piece of paper. And I'll give you a few seconds for this. If ever man lumampas sa 5 yung maisusulat mo, it's okay. So, list down websites, pages, or accounts that you follow whenever you need to know something. Ayun. I want you to hold on to those lists. Here are some questions that you can use when reading and researching online about things that are related to either COVID-19, to what's happening between Ukraine and Russia, about political candidates or political landscape here and abroad, and other issues and important matters. So the first one is you gauge your emotional reaction to it. You ask yourself, is it strong? Are you angry? Are you intensely hoping that the information turns out to be true? or false. So realize whether it's a yes or no. The second one, you just have to realize, so reflect on how you encountered this. Was it promoted on a website? Did it show up in a social media feed? Or was it sent to you by someone you know? So just reflect. And then the third question is, consider the headline or the main message. Does it use excessive punctuation such as double or triple punctuation marks? Or is the headline written in all caps for emphasis? Another question is, does it make a claim about containing a secret or telling you something that the media doesn't want you to know? You should not stop by just reading the headline. You have to really explore and finish the material. And then the fourth question, is this information designed for easy spreading, like in the form of a meme? Yes or no? Fifth question, consider the source of the information. It includes, is it a well-known source? Is there a byline or author's name attached to the piece? Go to the website's about section and look if ever it describes itself as a fantasy news or as a satirical news site. Next is, does the person or organization that produced the information has any editorial standards? And does the contact us section include an email address that matches the domain and not just a Gmail or a Yahoo email address? Also, does a quick research of the name of the website raise any suspicions? Sixth, does the example you're evaluating have a current date on it? It's important also to check when this was written or published. Seventh, does the example cite a variety of sources, including official and expert sources? Does the information this example provides appears in reports from other news outlets? So you have to verify. The eighth question is, does the example hyperlink to other quality sources? In other words, they haven't been altered or taken from another context. Next, can you confirm using a reverse image search that any images in your example are authentic, or meaning sources haven't been altered or taken from another context? And lastly, if you search for this example on a fact-checking site like snopes.com, factcheck.org, or politifact.com, is there a fact check that labels it as less than true? Notice how many yeses and nos you answered. The more nos you have, the more likely it is to be unreliable, so you have to consult other resources too. Going through these questions may slow down your absorption of the content, which is good because it means you can really comprehend and really double check. Take note that misinformation and disinformation must be stopped because it may cost us our democracy. Yes, opinions are welcome, but they are not enough. We know how to respect differing views and preferences, but our respect to facts, evidences, truth, and justice must always weigh more. And of course, it is important that we know how to communicate our stances and our rebuttals in polite ways. Now, going back to the list of pages, websites, and accounts you follow or visit for updates and information, you can perceive whether you expose yourselves to reliable information or not. And with this awareness comes appropriate actions that will not contribute to the production and proliferation of hoax or fake news. If you recall the ritual that we had before we started the talk, I've asked you two questions, right? The first one was about what contribute to your sadness, anger, pain, and worry in these times. And the second one was what you hope to have or happen starting this year. I am hoping that in one way or another, what you wrote down are connected to the pandemic and the elections. The reason I asked you those questions is simply my faith that the youth, more than us loving ourselves and the people we already know, also values the collective good. In other words, may pakialam sa bayan at hindi lang sa sarili. And to add, lalong-lalo na sa panahon natin ngayon, locally and globally. A youth advocate group called Youth Leadership for Democracy or Youth-Led PH worked with the social weather stations or the SWS for a survey titled National Youth Survey last March 2021. It was a survey on youth engagement in politics and social media conducted among 4,900 young people in 17 regions and 32 key cities nationwide with an approximately 1.4% national percentage of error margins. And from the data gathered, 60% like or share political and social posts. 54% seek political issues intentionally, and 49% use what they saw online to discuss with other people either online or in person. Further, 33% follow a politician, a political commentator, or any political account, and 27% post their own comments or thoughts on certain political and social issues. According to attorney Mildred Ople from Youth-Led PH, she emphasized that among social media platforms, Facebook is the most used among the youth as manifested in the 100% of the survey's respondents who are on Facebook. Next is YouTube with 62%, 47% on Instagram, 27% on Snapchat, and 35% on Twitter. In short, 97% of the youth have at least one social media account. To elaborate on the relevance of this to our topic, let us realize how we can maximize virtual platforms to protect and promote the truth rather than weaponize them to mislead and harm, especially in a crucial time as now. On Facebook and TikTok, there are numerous troll accounts, spliced and edited videos, pointless memes, clickbaits, and cases of misinformation and disinformation, so the end game for us is to spot and stop them. The youth is a powerful sector. I just want to remind you of that. We play a crucial role in this year's national elections. Out of an estimated 65 million registered voters, 32.7 million are between ages 18 and 30, wherein 5.4 million are virgin voters or first-time voters. If this does not ring a bell to you, it basically means that we are half of the total voting population. Thus, if we pursue to be united in our choice of candidates, we have an edge to likely elect them into office. And to support this, exit polls, as observed in the 2010 and 2016 presidential elections, can be a reliable precedent to what may likely happen this 2022. 36% of voters in 2010 were ages 18 to 34, and out of it, 77% voted for former President Noynoy Aquino. In 2016, majority of President Duterte's votes also came from the same age bracket. And now, we also have to consider that we may have the edge, but this is also more than just us. It is a must to acknowledge that the real battle is not within this sector alone, that it is not confined on screen, but is definitely on the ground, with the people, and for the people. Like what I mentioned, there is digital divide in our society, so a bigger population belongs to those who do not have access to education, information, and privileges. So it is crucial to bring relevant conversations outside of our homes. Let's talk with our neighbors, with vendors, drivers, utility personnel, store and business owners, fishermen, farmers, indigenous people, anyone that we can talk to just for us to reach a larger number. Ang dami kasing biktima ng fake news sa Pilipinas, bata man o matanda. All are susceptible. That's why it's important that we continue to educate ourselves so we can educate others and empower ourselves so we can also empower others. Today, we are less than 50 days away from May 9. And whatever comes out of that day determines not just the next 6 years of our shared lives, but also the future of the next generations of Filipinos. So this is clearly the fight of our lives. Thus, we must uphold the highest of standards in choosing and voting for a candidate. Let me ask you, what makes you drawn to a specific person, whether they are a friend or a lover? Is it because of their character, their background, their intelligence, disposition, appearance, their achievements? I think it's safe to say that ideally, we all have a checklist. But we tend to break our own rules for the sake of temporary convenience and inauthentic happiness. We may have made that mistake before, unaware, but in our current time and situation, to repeatedly and knowingly invest in someone who clearly is not interested, does not reciprocate, and settles with the bare minimum is emotional and mental damage for ourselves. Sa aming mga Generation Y or Millennials, yung mga pinanganak within 1981 to 1996, and I think pati na rin sa inyong mga Gen Z, those born within 1997 to 2012, di ba, also yung pagdetermine ng mga green flags and red flags in relationships and partners, sa friendships, and kahit nga sa crushes. In school, we undergo a process with exams and interviews and submit requirements to be admitted and to graduate. In jobs, we also do the same to be hired and promoted. So, if regular people who seek employment undergo a long, demanding, and necessary process to be hired and promoted, which includes securing an NBI clearance to make sure we have no criminal cases or records, that we must have at least a year of experience related to the job that we are applying for, that we must be recommended by people we have already worked with, that our skill set must be able to cater to the job description, that we must be able to ace the exams and interviews, and so on and so forth. Why must we settle for less when it comes to our government officials? If someone claims that they love you and they will fight for you, would you believe them if their actions are not consistent with their words? Would you actually think that they have your best interest at heart when they can't show up for you when you need them or when they are asked? Isn't it ironic to trust someone who cannot hold themselves accountable for issues about them and cases against them when clearly there are records and evidences supporting its validity, yet they avoid or deny despite confrontations? We don't deserve anything fake or forced in life and in politics. Would we be proud of ourselves if until now we allow incompetent and corrupt people to hold public offices? Let us not forget that public office is public trust. It is not a carnival nor theater. It is not a pedestal to make whoever wins as someone we should idolize or treat as a celebrity. They are not mere public figures, but public servants with jobs and mandates. Their titles nor positions must never be a ticket for them to be above the law or bend the law to their favor. How can we trust someone to uphold equality and equity when the way they address and treat people shows that they see themselves more significant and powerful than the others? And so, we must never be fanatics of these politicians, of these public servants. We must be their constant critics. We must be the people who do not blindly support and follow, but actively participate, bravely speak up, rationally question, and properly act on solutions. We do it together by making the right choice first. Look at Pasig. They have Mayor Vico Soto. They are not lucky. It was their choice. They made their choice. They said yes collectively to good governance. And we must reflect on this. The brand of leadership and service that we must support, campaign, and vote for must be competent and compassionate. In other words, they have both the credentials and the character. Those with good records and reputations, those whose intentions are well communicated, are clear and clean, their principles are humane and morally upright, stances on crucial and urgent issues are reliable and firm. They must know who and what they are fighting for, because that's when we feel that their plans and programs are concrete and certain. These candidates must carry platforms that are smart, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And I add another S, so it becomes smarts. That additional S is sustainable. And that these platforms and projects or programs must all be based on research and immersion. They know their data, they know their system. When someone who runs for an electoral office knows the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that concern their constituents in different aspects, such as economy, healthcare, education, labor and livelihood, law, tourism, transportation, disaster risk reduction and management, and the list goes on, then they can very much devise and deliver contextualized and sustainable reinforcement to the community. We need leaders whose actions are rooted in the community, are consistent, and are pro-people. Those who walk the talk. Leaders who really lead and inspire and not dictate nor control nor add up to our long list of problems. One that brings out the best in a person and a group. We deserve leaders who hear the people, feel the people, and serve the people, not themselves nor their cronies or associates. Let us note, however, that there will never be a perfect person. But we don't need someone perfect to be our public officials. We need someone who is true. Someone who knows they cannot solve everything, but is ready to fix and create as much as they can and knows how to involve the people in the healing. In short, progressive, participative, and transformational leadership. Nothing is more fitting to be a leader than one who humbly yet honorably did the work, still does the work, and will continue working, acknowledged or not. And I mean the good work, with evidences, with receipts, those that have real testimonials from real people. Someone with an aura that reminds you of love and hope. And if you are thinking of somebody right now, it already says a lot. And I'm happy for you. But remember, we still have time. And let's use our remaining time till the elections to continue educating ourselves and empowering ourselves so that we also educate and empower other people. All together, ipanalo na natin to para sa bayan. That's it for my talk. Thank you, and please pass it on.